Everything they've told you about productivity is designed to make you fail. To-do lists, perfect schedules, 5 a.m. routines. All of that sounds great in a video, but in real life it doesn't work. And it doesn't work because it attacks the symptom, not the disease. Today I'm going to show you why you're wasting your day, and it has nothing to do with discipline, or willpower, or waking up earlier. It has to do with something nobody tells you because it's not sexy, it doesn't sell courses, and it doesn't look good in a reel. Think about your day yesterday. Not what you did, but how you felt at the end. You were probably tired. You probably felt like you did things. But if someone asked you, what did you actually move forward? You'd struggle to answer. And that's not one bad day. That's the pattern of your life. You wake up, open your phone, reply to messages, check social media, remember something you had to do, start it halfway, get interrupted, do something else, come back, lose your train of thought, do something quick to feel like you're making progress. The afternoon hits and you have no energy left for what matters. But you tell yourself, tomorrow I'll start fresh. And tomorrow is exactly the same. Now, what most people conclude is, I lack discipline. And that's where the real problem begins. Because you start looking for motivation, you watch productivity videos, you download a habit app, you buy a planner, and nothing changes. There's a study from the University of California, Irvine that says after an interruption, it takes an average of 23 minutes to recover the level of focus you had. 23 minutes. Think about how many times you get interrupted each day. Think about how many times you interrupt yourself. You're operating with a fragmented brain all the time, and you wonder why you can't perform. You're not unproductive. Your operating system is corrupt. And today we're going to reformat it. I'm going to give you 3 changes. Not 3 motivational tips, 3 mechanical changes in how you operate. But I need you to understand something first. The third one changes the meaning of the first 2. If you leave before you get there, you're going to apply this wrong. And applying it wrong is worse than not applying it at all. Most people start their day making decisions. And that's exactly the worst thing you can do. You sit at your desk or grab your phone, and in that moment your brain has to answer the most expensive question that exists. What do I do now? It seems like a simple question. It's not. Every time you decide what to do, your brain burns glucose, activates the prefrontal cortex, evaluates options, discards alternatives, anticipates consequences. And that happens before you've done absolutely anything. You already spent mental energy just choosing. This is called decision fatigue. And it's the real reason why by 3 in the afternoon you can't think clearly anymore. It's not that you worked too much. It's that you decided too much. Productive people don't decide during the day. They decide beforehand. And this isn't philosophy, it's mechanics. This is what you need to do, and it's absurdly simple. Every night, before you disconnect, write down the tasks for the next day. But not an infinite list of everything you should do. Write down 3 things maximum. The 3 things that, if you do them, the day was a success. Why 3? Because long lists are a productivity disguise. They give you the illusion of control, but in reality they're a menu where you always pick the easiest thing. And the easiest thing is almost never the most important. When you only have 3 things, there's nowhere to hide. You can't trick yourself doing comfortable little tasks while the important stuff rots at the bottom of the list. It's like a restaurant. Have you ever been to a restaurant that has 100 dishes on the menu? You spend 15 minutes ordering, and you end up picking whatever. Now think of a restaurant with 5 options. You choose in 30 seconds and eat better. Your day works the same way. Fewer options, better decisions. Now, there's something people don't understand about this. They think organizing is making a list. No. Organizing is eliminating. 90% of what you think you have to do, you don't have to do. You do it out of inertia, out of habit, because someone asked you and you didn't say no, or because you confuse being busy with making progress. So when you make your list of 3, don't ask yourself, what do I have to do tomorrow? Ask yourself, what happens if I don't do this tomorrow? If the answer is nothing serious, it's out. If the answer is something important gets delayed, it stays. What I just explained sounds logical. But there's a massive mistake that 90% of people make when applying it, and it has to do with the second revelation. And that mistake is what turns your organized list into a trap. You already have your 3 tasks. Perfect. Now, which one do you do first? If you answered the most urgent one, you just fell into the trap. Urgent and important are not the same thing. And your brain confuses them all the time because the urgent screams and the important whispers. Replying to your boss's email feels urgent. But working on that project that could change your career is important. Answering that message is urgent. But sitting down for 2 hours to study what will actually get you out of where you are is important. The urgent has a deadline and immediate consequences. The important has enormous consequences, but long-term. And since the human brain discounts the future, it always prioritizes the now. Eisenhower, the President of the United States who was previously Supreme Commander of the Allied Forces in World War II, had a phrase, "What is important is seldom urgent, and what is urgent is seldom important." This guy coordinated D-Day. He organized the most complex invasion in military history, and his productivity principle fits in one sentence. But here we are, not coordinating any invasion, drowning in emails and WhatsApp messages. I'm going to give you the simplest and most uncomfortable rule you're going to hear today. The first thing you do each day has to be the most important, not the most urgent. And it's almost always going to be the most uncomfortable. Why? Because at the start of the day you have your biggest reserve of mental energy. Your prefrontal cortex is fresh, your ability to focus is at its peak. And most people waste that golden window answering notifications. Imagine you have a glass of water and it's all the water you have for the day. Do you fill it with rocks first or sand? If you put the sand in first, the rocks won't fit. If you put the rocks in first, the sand settles into the gaps. The rocks are what's important. The sand is everything else. So the mechanics are this: your 3 tasks from last night, order them by real importance, not urgency. And tomorrow, the first thing you do, before opening email, before checking your phone, before everything, is number 1. Now, here's something that contradicts what most productivity gurus tell you. They tell you to use time blocks, to assign every hour of the day, to turn your schedule into a perfect game of Tetris. Don't do that. Time blocks work for robots. You're not a robot. You have good days and bad days. Days where you flow and days where every minute is a struggle. Chaining your productivity to a rigid schedule is creating a system that fails the first time something goes wrong. And something always goes wrong. What does work is having a clear hierarchy. You don't need to know what time you're going to do each thing. You need to know in what order. And you need to protect your first hour as if your life depended on it. Because in many ways it does. If you apply this, you're going to notice something strange. You're going to finish fewer tasks per day. And that's going to feel bad. But your results are going to be better. And that has to do with something the third revelation explains, and that completely changes the game. Let me ask you a question, and I want you to answer it seriously. How many hours a day do you think you actually work? Not sitting in front of the computer. Not being busy. Real, focused work that produces results. Studies say the average is 2 hours and 53 minutes in an 8-hour workday. The rest is noise. If you could recover even 1 hour of that noise, what would you do with it? That's exactly what's coming now. The first 2 revelations teach you to choose better. This one teaches you to do the same things in less time. Think about everything you do in a week. Now separate it into 2 categories. Things you do once and things you repeat. The emails you write, the reports you fill out, the replies you give, the processes you follow. How many times have you written essentially the same email with different names? How many times have you done the same process step by step, from scratch, as if it were the first time? Every repeated task you do from scratch is a tax you charge yourself. And you pay it with the most valuable resource you have, your time and your mental energy. The solution is not to work faster. It's to stop reinventing the wheel every day. Let's go with concrete examples because this is where theory turns into real recovered time. Example 1. Emails. If you send similar emails more than twice a week, create templates. They don't have to be perfect, they just have to cover 80% of the message. Then you customize the remaining 20%. Going from writing a 5-minute email to sending it in one is multiplying your capacity by 5 on that task. Example 2. Frequent replies. If you use WhatsApp or any messenger for work, identify the 10 questions people ask you most often. Write the answers once, save them as quick replies or in a note. When they ask, you copy, paste, adjust, and done. 30 seconds instead of 5 minutes. Example 3. Processes. If there's something you do every day or every week following the same steps, write them down. Make a checklist. Not because you're dumb and can't remember, but because every time you follow a process from memory, your brain spends energy remembering the next step. With a checklist, that energy is freed up for what matters. Airline pilots use checklists. Surgeons use checklists. Not because they don't know how to fly or how to operate, but because they know that memory fails, especially under pressure. And you're under pressure every day. There's a study by Atul Gawande in hospitals. Implementing a 90-second surgery checklist reduced complications by 36% and deaths by 47%. 90 seconds. If a 90-second list saves lives, imagine what it can do for your productivity. Now, this seems obvious. And that's why nobody does it. Because the obvious is boring. People want the new app, the secret technique, the hack they saw in a reel. But real results come from doing the simple things consistently. I'm going to give you an exercise you can do right now. Open your phone's notes. Write down the 5 things you repeat most in your week. Next to each one, write how long they normally take. Now think, can I create a template, a checklist, a shortcut, or a simple system that cuts that time in half? If you find even 3 out of 5, and each one saves you 15 minutes a day, that's 45 minutes daily. That's 5 hours a week. 20 hours a month. 240 hours a year. That's 10 full days of your life that you recover. Doing the same things you did before, but without the junk work of starting from scratch every time. But if you think that's what this video is about, you only have half the story. Because there's something that connects these 3 revelations and changes absolutely everything. And most people never get to see it. I told you at the beginning that the 3rd point changed the meaning of the other 2. And I did that on purpose, because I needed you to understand the mechanics first before giving you the principle. Organizing, prioritizing, and optimizing are tools. They're good tools. But tools are useless if the real problem is something else. The real problem is not how you organize your day. It's what you organize it for. You can have the perfect list, the exact prioritization, the most efficient systems in the world, and still be profoundly unproductive. Because you're being productive at the wrong things. You're optimizing a life you didn't choose. Most people who feel unproductive don't have an organization problem. They have a direction problem. They don't know where they're going. And when you don't know where you're going, it doesn't matter how fast you walk. I've seen people with flawless planning, perfect calendars, productivity systems that would make an engineer cry. And who are profoundly unhappy. Because they're incredibly efficient at doing things that don't matter to them. That's from Peter Drucker. And it's the most important sentence in this entire video. So before you organize your day, you need to answer a question that most people avoid their entire lives. What am I building? Not what do I have to do tomorrow? Not what's urgent this week? What am I building with my life? Where do I want these days I'm organizing to take me? If you don't have a clear answer to that, and it doesn't have to be a perfect answer, it just has to be honest, then everything I told you before becomes empty productivity. You're going to be very efficient going nowhere. The 3 revelations today are not organize, prioritize, and optimize. Those are the visible tools. The real revelation, the one nobody tells you, is that productivity without purpose is just an elegant way of being busy. Organize your day, yes. But first organize what you want from your life. Prioritize your tasks, yes. But first prioritize your values. Optimize your processes, yes. But first make sure those processes are taking you where you decided to go, not where circumstances pushed you. That's the difference between someone who is productive and someone who is just busy. And that's the difference this video came to install in your head. If this changed even one perspective for you, you already have an advantage over 90%. Subscribe because this channel exists to give you the tools that nobody gave me. And if you want to go deeper into building real systems that get you out of where you are, this video is the next step.